The year is 2023, and Cars fans are eagerly anticipating what new items will release from the newly released Cars TV show, Cars on the Road. On the Road first premiered on Disney Plus in September of 2022, at the tail end of that year's diecast line. So there was a lot of anticipation for what 2023 would bring to the line. And when it came to Cars on the Road items, it certainly didn't disappoint, with nearly every new release in the 2023 mainline coming from the series, giving us releases both major and obscure. Some notable Cars on the Road items included the Road Rumbler variants of McQueen and Mater, the Cryptid Buster variants of McQueen and Mater, Cave Lightning McQueen, Lightning McQueen Deputy Hazard, and some other non-variants from the show, such as the zombie actor Doug Crankle, Mater's sister Mato and her new husband Mateo, even two of the dinosaurs from the episode Dino Park, the Westphalanthropus and the Quadratorchosaur. We got a ghost car with Mallory Carhut, a bunch of circus cars including the highly anticipated May Pillar de Rev. There was a little bit of everything, even a background character from the episode Trucks and Adam Rodriguez, who's a background character who also appeared in the back of Cars 3, so kind of a 2-in-1. While Cars on the Road took precedent here and got nearly every new release, there were still some pretty interesting items in the mainline aside from just Cars on the Road diecasts. Some hotly anticipated re-releases like Misty Motorcrass and Johnny Blamer, another Chase re-release after Lee Rosse last year with Miles Axelrod with Open Hood, and finally, the long-awaited return of the Lemons to the Cars diecast line with Tubbs Pacer and Vladimir Trunkov. There was also a re-release of Todd the Pizza Planet truck, some of the 50s racers making their first appearance in several years, the Stanley statue came back, and in an absolutely wild move, the 2023 Cars diecast line gave us Tokyo Mater diecasts, releasing Cars Toon items in the main line for the first time ever, with a small handful of releases of cars based on the Cars Toon that got the most diecasts, including Drift Party Mater, Ito-san, Patoka, one of Kabuto's ninjas, Dragon McQueen, and a brand new expression variant of Kabuto with flames. So, yeah, pretty good stuff all around. Cars on the Road, of course, took precedent, and unfortunately we only got one new release from the movies in the main line, but it was a pretty good one. Breaker Boggs, the long-awaited Thunder Hollow Pity. Add to that the Kabuto expression variant, and, of course, the Disney 100 line, a super cool lineup of platinum silver cars made to celebrate Disney's 100-year anniversary, including McQueen, Mater, Doc, Sally, Flo, Ramon, and a special mail-away Cruisin' McQueen, and you had a pretty solid lineup for 2023. Outside of the main line, the Glow Racers line released this year after months of anticipation, finally hitting store shelves with 3 items and one exclusive one, or rather first look, in a 4-pack around October of that year, a few months after some playsets came out. This year also had a new Christmas car with Clutch Kringle, so yeah, some pretty strong releases. Unfortunately, it wasn't all sunshine, rainbows, and super cool new cars, because 2023 also saw the removal of the deluxe line from the Cars diecast line. After years of less and less deluxes coming out, and deluxes no longer really hitting mainstream stores in the US, my stores, my Targets and Walmart stopped carrying deluxes after 2020. So deluxes had been dying a slow death for several years. There were no new ones in 2022, and in 2023 they unfortunately pulled the plug, and they are yet to return still to this day. Though I will say in 2023, Mattel definitely made the best of a bad situation by inventing clever ways to give us some larger characters. Ivy from Cars on the Road was released in an online exclusive 3-pack. Red was re-released this year in a 2-pack alongside the Stanley statue. Yes, the typical deluxe red, which typically retailed for $7, now in a 2-pack with the Stanley statue for $8 total. A really good deal considering the Stanley statue is typically counted as the same price as a typical Cars diecast. Additionally, of course, Cars on the Road brought with it a lot of new, larger characters, like Doug Crankle and the dinosaurs, and with Deluxes gone, they just had these bigger cars be singles on larger bubbles. It was honestly pretty nice. While it was disappointing and upsetting to see the Deluxes go, and especially upsetting that they still aren't back a few years later, having these larger cars for cheaper and seeing Mattel get creative with the ways they release larger items certainly softened the blow. And on the subject of larger items, Cars on the Road brought us a lot of very, very unique cars. Yes, the removal of Deluxes meant that some of the weird new cars couldn't really be made, but Cars on the Road really brought with it some of the most interesting, unique Cars diecasts of all time. Whether it be actors playing zombies, dinosaurs, a prehistoric pity, apocalyptic cars, or all the wacky new McQueens and Maters, we got some stuff from Cars on the Road that to this day is kind of unmatched in the diecast line. I truly believe that while Cars on the Road nowadays is kind of forgotten about and not talked about much, it has some of the best diecasts in the history of the toy line, with some exceptionally detailed and unique items. And I think one of the best Cars on the Road items, and easily the best item of 2023, is this one right here, Peggy Liner. Hello everybody, and welcome back to 20 Years of Favorites, the series where I go over my favorite diecast from each year of the Cars diecast line. We are in the home stretch now with 2023, only 2 more years to go after this. It was kind of weird not doing the whole intro where I show my pictures on the wall, but of course 2023 just continued having the same packaging as 2022, so I'll have a different picture for it there. Who knows, maybe I'll update this background image at some point soon. We'll just have to wait and see. Peggy Liner released in a Salt Flats online exclusive multi-pack, a multi-pack that had a pretty tumultuous history, being sold online at pretty random intervals. I believe I got mine from Walmart.com, but yeah, it just kind of came in and out of stock at random, made its way to some random discount stores. It's a weird, wacky story, but man, if it was not worth tracking down for this exclusive. Peggy Liner is a car that you would never expect them to make in the Cars diecast line. The entire joke of this character is that she's this super long Salt Flats land racer who takes several seconds to pass by the screen. If you've ever seen that classic gag, like the sort of thing the Muppets do a lot, where you have somebody carrying a ladder and they're at the front and at the back of the ladder, Peggy Liner is basically that gag, where the whole joke is that you have something super long that takes forever to pass by the screen. And while Peggy was shrunken down for the Cars diecast line, this is still an insanely long car. In fact, I think Peggy Liner is the longest car in the history of the Cars diecast line. This thing, I know I've made this joke before, but this is just like straight up holding a pencil. This is an incredible mold, a very unique car. And while we do have some other land racers, some smaller ones, they don't hold a candle to just how cool Peggy Liner is. What an exceptional item. An item this good, and still it was kind of hard to pick my favorite from this year. I knew going in it had to be Peggy, but before I started filming this video, I was looking through all the 2023 releases, so I knew what to talk about in the intro. And I was like, man, I love the D100 cars. I love Kabuto with Flames and Breaker, and so many of the on-the-road items are very close to being my favorite. This year even had some pretty solid color changers. Yes, it had the color changer Doug Crankle, which is probably the worst color changer ever, but it also had Diana Giordano, a color changer based on one of the Cars on the Road ghosts, who turns clear, which was so cool. Closest a color changer has ever come to being an item here on 20 Years of Favorites. Yeah, some good stuff going on in 2023. With the weaker lineups of the year since, I think 2023 is a year we kind of take for granted now. It had some really good stuff. At the time, it was frustrating to see like how many Cars on the Road color changers we were getting and how many items we were still missing. But man, I would love to have a year like 2023 again with, again, the weaker lineups of the last few years. I think this year is definitely better than people give it credit for. I'm just looking at all the great stuff from on the road, and otherwise, pretty good year all around. Anyway, taking a closer look at Peggy, there really isn't all that much to talk about here. Again, insanely long car, and the fact that I have the Radiator Springs cars in the background in my reviews for the 20th anniversary is really making it a little more difficult to fit here. But yeah, insanely long car here. You can see she does have a mouth molded in. I absolutely love the paint job of this car with this very cool metallic red that transitions to gold and then back to red. What a cool color scheme here. I just really, really like how that turned out. It's not often that we see metallic colors blended together. And I just think that was a really, really cool thing to do here. I'm especially happy to see, that it is metallic. Not cheaping out and giving us flat colors here. We've got a couple of logos on the side. This one says AMR. This one looks like it says PIP, or maybe P1P, or maybe P straight line P. I don't know, Peggy. You want to explain? Because I don't know. But yeah, just some little logos and details. Of course, we have 5 different engines here. I believe that is the correct number. While the character was shrunken down, made a bit shorter, I do think that they kept that correct number. Yeah, that correct number of engines is there. 327 is her racing number. Then we have 714 GCE, 70408N. Down here it says a 1041 LAS. Then we have the Australian flag here on her fin, which of course is a plastic piece. You can see how we have kind of a stark cutoff here between the gold and the red. Of course, here it fades, but here there is a distinct cutoff on the back. Excuse me, McQueen, while I just push you back there so we have some space. We have this parachute, a detail on the back of most of the Salt Flats racers. There is a look at the other side, all the same details you would expect. And there is a look at the base. Of course, the biggest complaint with these Salt Flat cars is the fact that they have all white bases there, made to look like they're covered in salt, and all white wheels. Something fans really didn't like. Luckily, most of the 2023 diecasts did correct this. Now, Peggy, you could debate that Peggy is a 2022 item, but she was released in December of that year, so I've always kind of fit her in as a 2023 item instead. If you don't agree with that, I am sorry. if you don't agree, well, I guess the whole series is canceled. I'm sorry. No, but this is an item from the tail end of the year. So I grandfather it in as a 2023 item because, in December of 2023, the 2023 line had fully started. So, yeah. But if you don't consider this a 2023 item and want to say it's a 2022 item, which again, I don't think it counts, then I guess my favorite from this year would be probably one of the D100s, honestly. I think 2023 was a pretty solid year. Things are going to get pretty interesting in 2024, though, as we see Cars on the Road continue to dominate the line, but also something new make its way in with the GRC. It's going to be pretty interesting to talk about these last few years, so stay tuned for more 20 Years of Favorites. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week for another episode. Bye now.